So welcome back, and this video is all about you, but if you're interested in knowing more about Tech Growth Insights and a range of customer and market insight services, just check out the primary video tagged on the main page. But this video is about you, and then how really can you succeed to firstly get to and then succeed as a chief marketing officer of a technology company. And I want to share some of my experiences with you across the years in different technology companies. And I think I would say there's 9 key principles. And I think the first principle is around fit. Having a strong fit with the company and the culture of the company is crucial. You've seen these technology companies where you've got a CEO in there and they've got a particular culture, and then that CEO leaves and then a new CEO comes in, and then you find that lots of people leave because they just don't fit around the culture. They get found out, they just can't adapt. So it's crucial that you read those signs. A good example would be Microsoft. So Microsoft under Steve Ballmer, very much focused on quite ruthless, I guess, stack and rank performance systems to drive competition among the organisation. But then Satya Nadella came in, completely different philosophy, which was around customer centricity and collaboration. It was a different culture. And then as that company moved through that culture, the people needed to move on as well. And a lot of people left. And that tends to happen when there's a new CEO. But when there's a new CEO, there's a new strategy. You need to be really good at reading that strategy and then picking off the North Star of that strategy. What is the true North Star of that strategy that CEO has got? And aligning yourself with that. So if you were under Satya Nadella's reign as CEO, you'd want to be focused around customer centricity, collaboration. That's a North Star that you need to hold on to and really adopt and over-index on. It was a similar thing when I was at O2, and the company was previously BT Cellnet, and BT Cellnet was always about the technological superiority, the innovation, but the company didn't perform very well by operating through that model. So it needed to change. It was fourth in the marketplace. So a new CEO came in, and their focus was on customer experience. That was their mechanism for delivering shareholder value. And you can quickly see it. It's on all of the announcements, it's in the town halls, it's the thing that CEO talks about most. You want to latch onto that. And you want to kind of focus on that over-index. And when I was at O2, I made, together with the team, a conscious decision to say, actually, there's too much for us to do in this organisation to drive change. We can't have all the internal meetings and do the regulatory stuff. We're going to have to take some risks here. What we're going to do as a team, we're going to over-index on being customer first, customer focused, customer obsessed. And that's a North Star, and that will hold you in good stead because you'll be centrally aligned with the CEO's strategy. Whenever the CEO is looking across the company, they'll see you and your team, and they'll see that you're aligned with those corporate goals. And that's really crucial for you to do that and to get known for that. The second thing I'd say is that, which is aligned to that, is around ensuring that your team adopt that culture. It's not just about you adopting that North Star. You want to have your team adopt it as well. So making sure that you're taking that North Star, that focus from the CEO, into your team so your team can also get behind that is crucial. And then start using vocabulary within your team in order to ensure that those stories, those narratives, what good looks like, starts coming out from your team, and you're developing your own culture of that North Star in your team. So recognise successes of team members who have over-delivered in those areas. If it's around customer centricity, make sure that the people who are held up as role models in your team are those that have delivered against customer centricity. If it's about innovation, then focus on that. If it's about something else, focus on that. And then the team will quickly see that this is the way we behave around this. And this will build you up as a capable leader. You'll be immediately seen, not just from your team, but from other teams, that you're leading genuine alignment and culture within your team. And all that really means is that when you're not around, this is the way the team will think in order to solve problems. And that's a shorthand mechanism of how they'll behave, and you and your team will get a reputation within the organisation. The other one, the third one, would be around what I would call shadow of the leader. And shadow of the leader is that as a leader, you cast a shadow over your team. Your team watch what you do more than you would ever possibly think. They watch what you do. They watch how you speak. They watch how you act. They'll watch you as you go to the loo. The toilet. They'll watch you in constantly, and they'll be feeding off from that. They'll see what time you get in, what time you leave, your practices around video conferences, how you greet and how you term other members in other departments. And that casts a massive shadow across your team. So you want to get your shadow of the leader just right. You want to ensure that how you convey yourself, your team can clearly see the behaviour that's expected. And they will follow you. They will naturally follow you in terms of that behaviour. So core thing here is obviously about the team, having a great team. If you do have a great team which is linked to that North Star, you can just perform a lot better. You can get a lot better leverage from your team. Everybody across the company wants to work for you because they know how aligned you are and you've built this team spirit. So those are three key things I would say. And then the next would be come to when you do get to executive leadership from a marketing point of view, or really any function, the more you climb up an organisation, the less the technical aspects matter and the more the relationship aspects matter. So when if you think back in your career when you were junior and you were just studying marketing, what was the most important things? Well, it was around the technical aspects of marketing and really understanding those foundational elements in a precise amount of detail, and to be able to really to hold on to those data points, the technical aspects of your trade. As you're elevating and ascending through your career, unfortunately, those things become less relevant. And it becomes more relevant that you have good people in your team that can do those things. What becomes most important is your ability to build relationships in your team and across the company, and to be seen as a leader, that you're basically reaching out, you're creating interdepartmental ways of working, you're building bridges, you're creating value streams across the organisation. So that takes a different way of thinking. And it took me a while just to think about that and work out, well, I'm no longer, doing the doing. I have to be focused on the resource management. I have to be focused on leveraging relationships across the company to make and set my team up for success. So think about that in terms of your style. If you're still developing that, everybody goes through it as you ascend through your marketing career. But it's very important that as you go through, that you focus principally on relationships, your stories, the stories that you tell, and how those stories make impact on people throughout the organisation to become war cries, to become rallying calls for people to follow you. Your communication becomes your value, how well you're able to communicate, less about your technical aspects. And that takes some people a while to kind of figure out and break through, but it's important that you do that. And in short, it's okay. It's okay to let go of those things and then to build up others within your team. Another thing is about getting things done within the company, and that comes from those relationship styles that you're going to have to build bridges across the company. When you're running a function in marketing, you have to work closely with your counterpart in sales, your counterpart in product, in technology, in customer services, customer success. It's a given, and not all departments are aligned. Sometimes there's a lot of friction between departments. I'm sure you can relate to this, if not now, but previously in your career. And you need to break through in that the best chief marketing officers are exceptionally good at interworking with other departments. And I would say there's 4 key principles of negotiating with other department heads to win resources, ensure that your team have got the right air cover, they've got the right resources from those other teams to be set up for success, and how they're clearly being communicated about in terms of how they're being positioned in the organisation, what they're doing, and when they can achieve the certain tasks you're being asked to do. So firstly would be bargaining. And you can bargain with your counterparts. And that's very much a case of, if you give me this, I'll give you that. So you might say to a sales colleague, if you give me these resources for marketing, you give me some time for your people to do these webinars, then basically what I'm going to commit to is to making sure that we're going to shoot 4 webinars a quarter, and then we're going to deliver X amount of qualified leads, marketing qualified leads through them, or whatever that is. So that would be around bargaining, and bargaining is probably the most crucial tool. And don't be afraid to bargain. If you're not getting something, you need to actively bargain. Don't be, put on the back foot where you're kind of begging for resources and you're not being firm in terms of what you want and also what you're willing to give. And make it clear that unless you get those resources, then that other person won't get that thing that they want. So that will be the first thing. The second way to negotiate would be to build visions. So building a vision would be, if you and I work together, this is what we can create together. And build those visions, those shared visions, and make sure that it's what your counterpart wants. For instance, you might say to your VP of customer success, if we can work together in this way, then I can imagine a future whereby our customers are highly engaged, we're getting stronger renewals, we're getting more cross-selling of products. So building that shared vision, and if we can work together in this way, this is how we're going to get there. So another one would be building shared visions together. The third way would be bridging. And bridging is really about you and I working together. So you've got this set of resources, I've got that set of resources. Imagine what we can do if we can combine them. And then that's what we're focusing on. You've got all this stuff, I've got all this stuff. Imagine if we worked together even more closely, what we could do. And that can be immensely powerful, just to trigger in the minds of your counterparts across the organisation why they should work with you, spend time with you, spend time maybe coming to your team meetings, explaining things to your team, doing better interworking, and so on and so forth. And then the fourth area sometimes, and you've got to use it, is JFDI, which is just do it. And sometimes you need to get nasty. And that doesn't mean that you're a nasty person, but sometimes there isn't the time to go round the houses on things, and sometimes you have to assert yourself and be bold and just to say, look, I'm just asking you to do it, and be forceful with it. But the key thing is to have some awareness, self-awareness in terms of which are the styles to use at the right time. I don't particularly like going to the JFDI route personally. I'd prefer building visions and doing the softer collaboration stuff, spending time with my counterparts. But in some instances, yes, I've absolutely done that. And I've just said, look, I just want you to do it, and I want you to do it now. And in the right cases, that proves the most effective. But you're going to have to learn how to, if you don't already use a full inventory of negotiating styles, to get things done, to win resources for you and your team to help you set yourself up for success in the company. The sixth thing is that certainly when you're thinking about career goals, you want to be thinking less about am I getting to this chief marketing officer? Am I getting the attention of the CEO? You want to be focused on becoming a person, a marketing leader that provides value. You want to be a person of value, and that really means focusing on ensuring that within your team, in your area, that you're focusing on what are those inputs that are going to drive value outputs for your organisation, and then being meticulous, being a master of those, and really focusing on personal and professional mastery of what are those levers within your marketing resource field that you can really drive that value into your company. And the more value you're providing, the more it will get noticed. And if you're not at the CMO level, it's only a matter of time that if you're providing huge amounts of value to the company, you're going to get recognised as that person who provides value. And I've seen these different marketing leaders over time, and also leaders in other functions in tech companies, and they focus on I would say the wrong things. They focus on really self, what they're going to get out of things. And whilst, yes, those leaders can achieve by sheer ruthlessness that elevation and ascendancy in their career, they never really stick around for very long in companies. They go in, they're in there for a couple of years, they get found out, they're not providing enough value, they're just focusing on taking, and they have to move on. And they inevitably move on, and they jump from one role into another, and I've seen that so many times. But if you really want to have the authenticity and the belief that those people around you have in you, be a person of value. It'll hold you in great stead in your company, also with your team. So yeah, that's definitely the way to focus on it. And in terms of what are those things, because I'm getting the question, I'm sure, which is, well, what are those things that we should be focusing on in terms of being a person of value? And that would lead me on to the seventh area, which is you want to look to what your executive committee and your non-executive directors, i.e. your board, view as key value. And from that point of view, if you see that, and let me take a step back, you'll see that there's, in companies, there's a way to operate, if you think about it, in quadrants. So on one axis, you've got projects which are really, really important to the company, from low to high. So if the company delivers on that, then there's a material step forward in terms of meeting strategic goals. On the other axis, it's about visibility. So is this a highly visible project to the exco and the board from low to high? And you'd be surprised, not all really important projects are highly visible. And these are kind of projects whereby they're important, but they don't really get the visibility across the organisation. You can be grafting away, you can do an amazing job, and then at the end of it, you don't really get any halo. Your team don't really get any halo. Your team don't really feel any better about delivering against it. Some of those things are just in your remit and you're just going to have to do. But where you want to be guiding you and your focus is on the elements which are on the upper quadrant. Those things which are both really important to the exco and the board, and also highly visible to the exco, the board, and across the company. Those are the sweetest projects for you to get involved with. And it doesn't really matter if those are outside your marketing remit. If traditionally in companies, particularly after COVID, there's been lots of delayering. Basically, middle managers are gone. There's too many projects. There's not enough people. You know what it's like. You operate in that field day in and day out. You've not got enough hours in the day. But the people who drive the most amount of value are the ones that look across the company and see what projects can I put my hand up to, big, meaty, juicy projects that I'm going to take on for the board, the exco, which are going to provide greater visibility. And those people that get that huge ascension boost, they're just literally putting their hand up. Yes, I'll do that. They're really good at spotting those projects. Yes, big project, really important to the company. And yes, there's big visibility. I'm just going to put my hand up time and time again. And you'd be surprised that across your peers, a lot of your peers in other departments, or if you've got peers in marketing, they'll just put their head down. They don't really want to put their hand up to those kind of projects. They're just trying to focus on the day-to-day, whereas the people that really make leaps and bounds, they sniff out those projects. They're quick to put their hand up. They're quick about how to delegate some of those things into their team, and then they're clever about using those projects to bring their team members on to provide them with development opportunities. So, and that's the match, and that's a certain nuance that you're going to have. But if you get a reputation for the person that's delivering immense amount of value against projects that are critically important to the company, and then you and your team are getting loads of halo, you're unstoppable. I think the other element, number 8, is, and this is becoming more and more acute, particularly post-COVID, is just resilience. Resilience is becoming such an important term that a lot of us are disintermediated. We're working in hybrid environments. The resources that we had pre-COVID aren't around anymore. We're expected to do more with less team, less resources, less budget, and just grinding out shareholder returns. And that's part and parcel. It doesn't matter where you go, unless you're really, really fortunate. The vast majority of tech companies are exactly like that. So, and it's one of those things is to accept it and then grow resilience towards it, and to be able to cope with that. And some of the best ways to cope with that, certainly looking after yourself, having proper diet, relaxation, get involved in fitness pursuits where you can properly de-stress. I remember when I became general manager of O2, and I was leading. It was a marketing role, but I also had general management responsibility. So I ran the P&L. I was responsible for the whole business unit, and the business unit was £1.8 billion a year, and I had to deliver. The controllable contribution was 1.1 billion. And I can tell you, once I got to that state, I was, really happy when I did. But at the same time, having that weight of responsibility about delivering the quarterly numbers, where am I going to deliver this amount to? Watching what's happening with the marketplace, that there's dilution in certain customer offers and competitive offers diluting value. It became really stressful, really, really stressful. And I remember I would drive home and I would literally eat with the family, and then I'd lie on my bed, and then I'd have a towel on my head and I had my earphones in. I was doing breathing exercises. And I didn't understand how to manage the anxiety, and I used to grind my teeth. I had this terrible habit of grinding teeth, and even in the night, and I wore out a lot of my teeth. It was just sheer anxiety of this responsibility of leading a business unit. There was 1,000 people in the business unit, counting on me, either direct or indirect. And then in terms of the wider company, my business unit was delivering 70% of EBITDA to the total company. And then that sounds like, wow, that's fantastic. But yeah, it might be, but the stress of doing that. And the only way I could figure out coping was really to focus on resilience. I got a mentor. That really helps. If you get a mentor who can help you get your head up and think about the wood for the trees, that's a great way to de-stress, get clarity, rather than just fighting through things. Also, I did start on a lot more physical exercise just to burn off the sense of anxiety and stress. And then the other thing that will help you is things go wrong. There are issues. I mean, you know what it's like. You're in the trenches day in, day out. The key thing is for you to build resilience is also to always, when there's a problem, think what, not who. It's very easy to get trapped because everyone's got these pressures around you and nobody's got enough resources, and then you feel that, so-and-so in another department, the head of sales or the head of customer success or even the CEO is being unfair. And it's very easy to get your thoughts into the who. And that's a dangerous place for your own stress levels, your own resilience. And the easiest way to do that is become detached from the who, think about the what. Think about what is the situation here rather than who is contributing to that situation. And that will help you. And then the last thing, number 9, is sometimes you just need to know when to move on. It's as simple as that. It might be a new CEO comes in and you're not sure of the culture that they're going to bring in with them. I've been in organisations when I was moving through where I looked around. There's O2's another good example. Whereas when I was general manager, I was running this business unit, and but I wasn't on the exco. I wasn't reporting into the CEO. I was actually reporting into somebody that owned all of the commercial units across the company, and I ran the business unit for her. She was excellent. But the thing is, I looked across the company and thought, wow, the talent here is so strong. I'm not sure that I can actually, in this particular company, because the quality of the talent, the quality of my peers, the quality of my leader was so strong that I thought, actually, I could be hanging around here for the next 10 years and I'm not going to make CMO. And sometimes you have to think, well, I need to take some risks in my career to become the CMO, to lead a function like that. And it was a wrench to leave O2. I loved the company, I loved the culture, I loved the team, very high quality people, but it was right for me to move on. And I remember that they were very good to me. They basically, O2, if you don't know O2, it was part of Telefonica, multiple different entities in different countries. And they offered me the role as Chief Marketing Officer for O2 Czech Republic, which is still quite a big position. And it was running their consumer, their SME, their enterprise marketing, and also owning the business unit, the P&L. And I was really excited. I thought, great, fantastic, yeah, let's move to Czech Republic, great. And I told my wife at the time, and she said, "You must be joking. We're about to have a baby. There's no way you're moving to Czech Republic. I don't see why you should have to move country in order to get a promotion." So that put pay to that. So that went out of the window, and I thought about, well, okay, all right, there's two of us in here. It's not just me. I'll have to make amends. And I took a second look at things and decided it doesn't matter if I'm here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what I do, I'm just not going to be the number one here. It's time to move on. And I did move on, and it was the right choice for me to do that. So knowing when to do that, when to not. Some of you will be lifers. You love your company. You want to work out how to make it work there. And in that instance, taking a sideways move might be the best opportunity for you to go into another division, go into another country if it's in a multinational country. And then after a while, you can build up the resource knowledge, domain knowledge, and then you can, when the time's right, come back in. But knowing when to exit is a skill that you're going to have to master. I wish I could give you a playbook, a rule book for that. There isn't one, but it is an important quality to have in your climb to becoming a chief marketing officer of a technology company. So these would be my 9 principles for success. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, just give the video a like, follow the channel if you don't already, and subscribe for further notifications. And if you're interested in tech growth insights and finding leadership in customer and market insights, you can check out my main video, which is pegged to the primary page. So with that, thanks ever so much for joining, and I wish you a good rest of the day. All the best. Bye.